Thanks, Stacy. Bill, what have you observed from Justin Haran this year?
Well, like most of our players going from year one to year two, that first year's a lot of experience and much better understanding of what we're doing and what our opponent's doing and how different each opponent is with their physical skill set and techniques. So, yeah, I think like all of our second year players, really lump them all in there together because it's pretty much the same conversation. Big growth from year one to year two, especially for those guys last year that, had no spring, didn't have the foundation that they were able to have this year, and that was, it's helpful for everybody, obviously.
And how about Joejuan? When Joejuan Williams has had an opportunity, what have you observed from just how he's, seized the opportunity when those have presented themselves?
Yeah, it's he's been in some different different roles, depending on what else or who else has been played or been available, and really over the course of his 3 years here. So at times playing inside, at times playing outside, and we've shifted schematically a little bit in terms of, probably our man zone breakdowns and so forth. So, he's adapted to all those things, but it's been a little bit of a transition. He's been had to plug in at times where we needed him, as opposed to just really being able to stay in one spot. But he's a smart kid. He's handled that, but that's kind of the way it's a little bit different than a guy that's playing one position like an offensive lineman.
Next question, Chris Ryan, and I want to encourage anyone else to raise a hand if you have questions for Coach Belichick.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
Good, Chris.
I want to ask you about the role that you think physicality plays in winning playoff football. And certainly, you've had teams that were extremely physical, and you think of the NFL film stuff, and it's a lot of physical type of stuff. Is that one of the biggest keys to having success in dominating in the physical aspects of the game?
Yeah, it's definitely a part of it. Yeah. I think at this time of year, there's, well, really every game, but there are a lot of things that go into. I don't think you can just say one thing is that's all there is. There's a lot of offense, defense, special teams, the running game, the passing game, situational football, turnovers, penalties, field position, key plays. There's tackling, fundamentals, so forth. Anything could make a difference, and everything will make a difference. So it's really a combination of everything. But yeah, all those things that I mentioned, and the physical part of it, like they're all important. So you try to find the blend of best combination of all those things you can, and that's what everybody's trying to do, and certainly what we're trying to do.
You spoke at length a couple weeks ago about offensive linemen and how finding guys who are big, talented offensive linemen is challenging at this point. Have you noticed that in other areas of the game as well, where there's been perhaps an adaptation to having smaller, faster players? Has that been a forced adoption, or has it been more of something that is just a necessity?
Yeah, I'm not sure. You'd have to talk to other teams about why they do what they do and so forth. But yeah, I think certainly at the the linebacker position on the edge and inside, you see, relatively speaking, smaller, faster players compared to 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, where you had bigger, stronger, more physical players. Defensive ends were true defensive ends, which there's still plenty of those guys, but there's other teams that Carolina, that, have smaller, faster, explosive guys out there, and linebackers that go anywhere now from, 210, 215 to, 235. And then you have some bigger guys out there, like the high towers and guys like that. So, but there's still plenty of big defensive ends too, the Cam Jordans and guys like that. I would just say there was a time when they were seemed like they were all like that, and that's not really, I don't think that's the case anymore.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yep.
Next question, Phil Perry, followed by Andrew Callahan.
Hey, Bill, just want to ask you about, Josh Allen and the running game for the Bills. It looks like just based on the attempts numbers, they've used him a little bit more as a runner later in the season here. From what you've seen, are those designed opportunities or more scrambles, and he's just taking more of those scramble opportunities when they are presented to him? How has that kind of evolved for him, I guess, over the course of the year?
Yeah, I'd say more called runs, Phil.
Okay. And I guess when it comes to your defensive backs, when obviously those guys are, Josh Allen's a big quarterback. Those are smaller guys. Are there techniques that you can work on at this point in the year in terms of tackling a larger player like that?
Yeah, well, I mean that comes up anyway. Tight ends are big. There's some big backs. There's other backs that aren't as big, but certainly if a running back's got the ball, those are skilled runners. That's why they play that position. But there are plenty of big tight ends, just like there are some big quarterbacks. Guys like Cam and Josh Allen, guys like that. And then there are other, medium-sized guys, or guys like Wentz. Like, I wouldn't call him small, but he's not as big as some other guys, or Murray or guys like that. So they all come in different shapes and sizes, but I'd say the DBs have to deal with tackling big players, especially tight ends, as part of their normal, in normal games. Those guys get the ball, and whether it's Knox or Jasecki or Smythe or whoever we play, like everybody's got a tight end that looks kind of like, size-wise in the Josh Allen range.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question, Andrew Callahan, followed by Evan Lazar.
Bill, I was wondering, when you look at the Bills' offense, they have one of the highest success rates in terms of just staying on schedule this season, and I think it's a departure from maybe past years. When you have an offense like that you're trying to defend, what becomes, I don't know, a point of emphasis or things you might need to rely on, understanding they're very good at being patient and moving downfield when forced to do that?
Yeah, they've done a good job of that. And really, it's they're gonna look. They're a good offense. They have a good, they're well coached. They have a good quarterback. They have good skill players. They have a good offensive line. They have an experienced offensive line. So, they're hard to stop. I think the key for us is when we get them in third down, we've got to be able to convert on third down. If they convert on third down, then literally you're out there all day, and that's pretty much what happened in the second game. We had a number of third down opportunities, third down, and 8, 9, 10 yards, and there was, I would say, too many of those that we had opportunities to get off the field on, and we couldn't do it. And so then, like I say, then they stay out there, and they get to the 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s and 4th and 1s, and those are going to be hard, and the percentages on those are a lot higher. But we didn't do a good enough job, collectively, as a coaching staff and as a team to get off the field on third down and get the ball back for our offense. So you're right. I mean, if you can stay on the field and have possession plays and have long drives, that's great. When you get in a long yardage situation, if you can't convert it, then that all goes away. If you can convert it, then then you kind of get off the hook on that 3rd and long play, and you're able to go back and do what you were just talking about. So when we get a chance to get off the field, either turn the ball over or get off on third down, take advantage of our turnover opportunities, receptions or opportunities to punch the ball out and that kind of thing. You got to take advantage of those. And like I said, we weren't able to do that in the second game.
Thank you.
Two final questions over Evan Lazar and Tara Sullivan.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you about crafting a pass rush plan for a guy like Josh Allen and just the balance between, I guess, containing him but also getting pressure on him at the same time, and how you kind of coach that up.
Yeah, it's you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. It's rushing, but pass rushing with discipline and with awareness, because if you miss him and he gets loose, that's going to be a big problem. So you just can't stand there and watch him throw. That's not the answer. But being undisciplined and just running around back there and letting him run, that's not the answer either. So he's a hard guy to defend, and we'll have to try to balance just what you said: aggressive rush with vision and an element of containment on him.
Sorry, we'll do two final questions. Tara Sullivan and Phil Perry.
Thank you. Hi, Bill. I appreciate how many questions we've asked you about Mac Jones this year, and really what you shared about what you like in a football sense is consistency and things that have allowed him to succeed. What can you share what you like about him personally as a kid? He's a young kid. I know you coach young kids all the time. What if anything, have you connected with him in a personal sense? Does that even matter? But what do you like about the kid?
Yeah, no, well, the same things I've said. I like that he's consistent. I like that he's puts a lot of time, work, and effort into football, and I like the way that he provides leadership to his unit and the team, and his unselfish attitude and his work ethic to help the team. So I don't know how anybody could not like that. I think we all do.
And last question, Phil Perry.
Hey, Bill, I just wanted to ask you about Jakobi Meyers and how much he's given your team as a blocker. We see him, he's kind of right in the middle of things there, given where he's aligned oftentimes, and, blocking safeties or, maybe even has to block linebackers at times. I don't know, but I just wanted to ask you what he's provided your offense in that regard as a blocker.
Yeah, well, he's certainly done his fair share of that, and maybe a little more. I think that's something that he learned early in his rookie year about the importance of that, and he's come a long way. He's really improved in his technique, and also, there are a lot of different looks out there on the edge of the defense, the linebacker, corner, safety locations, and where other players are located relative to them, and not just who to block, but how to get to them. And again, when you're blocking those players, they don't always just stand there and sometimes they try to shoot the gap, sometimes they try to play across blocks when you're blocking from the outside in. Sometimes they just try to two gap the blocker and play through them. Sometimes they back up and the corner comes, and you have to figure out which guy it is that you're actually is the most dangerous guy to block. So there's a lot of things that go on out there, and I would say understanding that, doing the right thing, and then using the proper technique and not getting penalized on low blocks and holding, and sometimes if a pass play is involved, when you're allowed to pick the player and when you're not, based on how far away from the line of scrimmage he is, that kind of thing. There's all that's part of it. It's part of the perimeter game that the defense has to defend and the offense tries to attack. So, as I said, that's something that he really, I don't think, did very much of before he got here. He learned a lot about how to do it, how important it is, and frankly, when you do that well as a receiver, then that creates a lot of opportunities for you in the passing game, because when you go in there to block and they react to you, and then it's a pass play and you're able to run past those defenders into open spaces that if it was a drop back pass, you would never have that much space. You have to create it through the deception of the perceived running game by the defense. That creates a lot of opportunities. So, players that do that, like Edelman or Jakobi, or that can combine those two. Like, yeah, there's some dirty work in there, and there's some blocks, but then there's also the appearance of blocks that turn out to be, pop passes, over routes, plays like that you see the receivers come wide open on. It's because of the combination of the run and the pass conflict for the defense. And, Josh doing a great job of, making those plays look alike and calling them in situations and from formations that are hard for the defense to, differentiate between the two. So, it is. It's a lot of work, and it's some tough plays. It also, creates some opportunities that are, that offset that. So that's part of the nature of that position. Yep.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep. You're welcome, Phil. Yep.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thank you.
When did Bud Light Seltzer start making lemonade?
Probably when 2020 handed us all those lemons.
New Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade, packed with lemonade flavor after a lemon of a year.
Opponents? I've gone up against thousands.
And there's an opponent we're all up against, COVID-19.
But there's a way to beat it. Get vaccinated.
So when it's your turn, roll up your sleeves.
And let's get to the finish line together.
When did Bud Light Seltzer start making lemonade?
Probably when 2020 handed us all those lemons.
New Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade, packed with lemonade flavor after a lemon of a year.
Opponents? I've gone up against thousands.
And there's an opponent we're all up against, COVID-19.
But there's a way to beat it. Get vaccinated.
So when it's your turn, roll up your sleeves.
And let's get to the finish line together.